It is time for the final mouth off with me, with Mike, ladies and gentlemen. You heard me say it numerous times throughout this episode. You heard me say it on social media. This is a topic that I've avoided on this podcast. Now, if you've been listening or watching the podcast for the beginning, almost a year ago now, it'll be here April 8th. So right after WrestleMania will be the year anniversary of Mouthing Off with Mike. I'm sure there'll be a special stream episode. Maybe it'll just be a best of Mouthing Off with Mike, and just a compilation of all of my silly reactions. But I want to discuss something that I really just don't understand. I've been a pro wrestling fan my entire life. Some of my earliest memories of professional wrestling are watching wrestling while my grandmother, who straight off the boat from Italy, babysat me and my two cousins. Shout out to them. Shout out to you guys. If you guys catch this podcast, which I don't even know if they know I have it or not. Nevertheless, shout out to you guys. But we used to watch Monday Night Raw, SmackDown if my parents were working and, they were coming home late. My grandmother never missed wrestling and Days of Our Life. Two shows. Never missed them. And it was something that just, it stuck, man. My dad grew up watching it. My dad used to go to the WWF shows, at Madison Square Garden, get the tickets, $5, $6, go sit ringside. Saw so many legends. I can't, Coco Beware, and the Junkyard Dog, and Dusty, and Rick, and Buddy Rogers, and George the Animal Steel. Wrestling is in my blood. It is something I'm super passionate about. But I don't understand as a fan why fellow fans, podcasters, hell, even the experts, they hang on these little graphs of spikes and they break it down into the demographic and the age and the segments. And they use this to metaphorically crucify a talent or a wrestling company because they didn't hit the demo or they saw such a drop in this segment to this segment and they didn't do the 10 o'clock time slot right and it didn't pop the proper rating and, oh, they signed this big name star, but they didn't even pop a rating. Why do you care? Why do you care? Why? I ask this sincerely to all of you that listen. If you're a fan and you harp on the ratings, why do you care about the ratings of professional wrestling? Did you watch the show? Did you enjoy the show? If you answer yes to both of those questions, then what does it matter if they got 800,000 views, if they got 1 million, if they got 2, if they got 22? Why does it matter? Did you sit for 2 hours or 3 hours in the case of Monday Night Raw, and were you entertained for at least half of that or the whole thing? If you answer yes to those questions and you're a ratings hyper fixator, why? I need to know this because Nielsen ratings are so out of date and irrelevant in the current day of media consumption, but for some reason, this is harped on. This past week, we saw the debut in AEW of women's wrestler Mercedes Moné. While most of the fan reception was positive, there was a vast majority of experts and fans that hyper-fixated on the rating for Dynamite, feeling that the ratings during certain segments were lower than they should have been. Now, Mercedes' grand reveal took place in the first segment of the show, which saw a large pop in viewership. Now, as the show progressed, the ratings per segment would dive a little bit per segment, and the lowest would be during the Jericho Hook tag team match, which, honestly, understandable. Go back in the show and listen to my thoughts on everything there. But I just don't understand why it gets harped on. Why do you care? If you're a fan, do those ratings have any bearing on your fandom? Are you going to see that Dynamite did 800,000 this week and did, 600,000 the week before? And you're going to be like, well, now I'm a big Dynamite fan because they finally broke 800,000 viewers. No, you're going to watch the show. You're going to support your show, your wrestlers, and you're going to watch it. You're going to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, I'm sure you go on social media and air out your grievances like all of us do. I don't understand it. Nielsen ratings are out of date, ladies and gentlemen. People watch streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, the list goes on, Peacock. People do not look at Nielsen rating. Normal people, if you watch any cable television, if you watch SWAT, do you go and look and see like what the SWAT rating was for that newest episode and how did they do with the demographics? No. If you're a football fan, if you're an MLB fan, have you ever had a conversation with a fan or a friend that's a rival fan to your team when it comes to the Eagles or the Cowboys? A prime example, me and Mike of Drop the Mic. He's a Cowboys fan. I'm an Eagles fan. I have never once had a conversation with him where I said, well, the Eagles got a better rating on Monday Night Football than the Cowboys did last week when they were on Monday Night Football, and vice versa. That conversation never happened. I never heard my girlfriend talk about the ratings of Love is Blind on Netflix, that, oh, Love is Blind beat The Bachelor. What's wrong with you guys? Stop focusing on stupid things that don't matter. The ratings have no bearing on your fandom. This is a joke. It's subjective. It's made up. You don't know who's watching live, who's watching on DVR, who's watching on the streaming apps, because you can watch TNT and TBS on an app. Same thing with USA Network. Same thing with Fox, if it works every once in a while. So I don't understand why we're getting so hyper fixated on these ratings, and I see it all the time. I don't understand. I try to make this show to be fun, lighthearted. I try to focus on the in-ring action, the talent, the storylines. I don't get into the mud. I don't get into the dirt sheets. I don't get into the rumors. I'll maybe quote on, free agent murmurs and things like that, because that's sports, and I try to present this as a sports podcast. But it is entertainment. I try to be funny too. I try not to be too hard, but I just don't understand that. I never once as a fan, as a kid, even as an adult right now, was like, oh, what are the ratings for Monday Night Raw? How'd that do compared to Dynamite? Or what was the ratings for Raw compared to The Bachelor and Monday Night Football? Monday Night Football is going to pull like a 20 million number. I don't understand. Why does it matter? I ask this sincerely, fans. If you're a fan and you harp on the ratings and you feel ratings are an indicator of people watching wrestling and growth for wrestling companies, then mouth off with me on social media. Tell me your reasoning as to why you believe that. At MOWM_podcast. Look, I'm a guy. I'm all about a great debate. What I will not do is argue and get caught in the mud and be involved in bad faith takes just for engagement. I don't do that here. And that's something that I want to address first and foremost. But if the fans in the building are enjoying the show, if they're going crazy, they're cheering, they're invested, they're enjoying it, you at home, you're enjoying it, what does it matter what the ratings of the show are? That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's everything from this past week in professional wrestling. For the people who are turning on Mercedes Moné, I leave you with the clip of Christian Cage telling Adam Copeland GFY. And I won't say it because this will air on the Spackle Road Sports Radio. And I don't want to get any sort of FCC violations for them. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're turning your back on Mercedes because she joined AEW instead of WWE or the company you wanted, then, ladies and gentlemen, get help. Simple as that. This has been Mouthing Off with Mike. I'm your host, Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, as I always end every episode, just go out there and enjoy pro wrestlings and stop letting these bad faith engagement podcasters, experts, journalists, fill in the blank, fill your heads that the ratings matter for professional wrestling. Because if you're a fan, they don't matter. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Check out the links in the description of this episode for all of the sponsors and affiliates here with Mouthing Off with Mike. That's SeatGeek code. Get yourself some tickets to a wrestling show and get $20 off. Thanks so much, everybody. Till next time.
Mouthing Off with Mike. Mouthing Off with Mike. Mouthing Off with Mike.